This is Brian Samborino, and you're listening to the Disruptive Consulting Podcast. It's my mission to help decision makers and business owners excel, so I'm bringing you some of the nation's top consultants and executives to break down the strategies that they've used to disrupt the average day-to-day process.
Who is your market?
Who is positive?
That's how do you typically reach their parents?
CEOs knew it wasn't working. That's why they just come in here. And she always comes up.
I cannot say enough great things about someone. All right, guys, we're here on Disruptive Consulting Podcast today. This guest is Ian Bick of Big Bick Entertainment, social influencer, all-around good guy. We just met recently, and I think his stuff's going to be pretty interesting for everyone. He's got a ton of great content in the works, stuff coming out. He'll plug it shortly. But Ian, go ahead. Please introduce yourself to everyone. A little bit about you.
What's up, guys? Brian, thanks for having me on. My name's Ian Bick. Pretty much shortened version is I owned a nightclub when I was 18 and went to federal prison by the time I was 21. And now I'm back into like the entertainment world, producing content, telling my story so others don't make the same mistakes. And kind of just like hitting home that point that your past mistakes don't define you and you could turn it into a positive.
That's me. Yeah, I feel like there's so many opportunities for people like us to push this information forward in part of just like overall social reform for the population that may not like have access or the motivation or anything like that you and I like kind of put together to launch our brands, right? I'm a big supporter too, and it's kind of like I mentioned to you earlier. This is why I thought this would be a great connection, and you'd be able to really touch part of the market that I don't necessarily have access to, you know? So what is Big Bick Entertainment? Can you tell us a little bit about that? What made you come up with the idea? I think I already
pretty
know
much. I mean, like a friend had given me the idea, like texted me, saw like I posted a picture and was like, that's Big Bick Energy, as like kind of relating to like Big Dick Energy, but using my last name. And so the name was catchy. So I took the BBE part and turned it into merch and just made that my company. And it's pretty much standing for like your past not defining you, and having the ability to take risks and get out there and fail and then get back up. Some people think it's kind of corny, but I think it's a funny type of brand, and it's not about like the name itself. It's more about like the person behind the brand. Is kind of like what it stands for. So I'm just rolling with it, and I'm producing content. I have a podcast coming out on the 22nd, and we're working on developing TV shows.
What kind of TV shows? I didn't know that.
Working on a scripted series, like turning my story into a script and making it, like a multi-season series. So that's like our main project right now. We did the documentary with HBO and Vice, and now we want to like take that to the next level because there's just so much to the story.
You're not on HBO anymore, though, right? You have
I just send people that. Yeah, I had like 400 or 500 DMs from people when I posted on TikTok, and it's made my Instagram followers go up like crazy.
Really? How many followers do you have now?
I almost have 5,000 on Instagram right now.
In Facebook, you're like 95,000, right?
Facebook's 24,000 and TikTok is 99,000.
Jesus Christ. And that's in such a short period of time too, right? You just started this recently?
That was just since July. I've just been posting every day since July, and that really, kicked things off.
I think it'd be a really funny idea if you share so many great stories that I identify with or like have related to. Can you share one of the stories now, like anything that you find just like really, really funny or interesting?
I mean, I just think that like there's so many different things that you wouldn't expect to be like a rule in prison, that like when you get to prison, especially like someone that was never in prison before and gets there, especially like my age, and that I was like this white nerdy chubby kid, like just not knowing about like, you know, not flushing in the middle of the night, you know, to not wake your bunkie up, or using a courtesy flush like after you go to the bathroom. Just like little things like that. Like some guys that have been in prison for multiple years like get really upset if you don't follow these rules, and they expect you to know these rules, but someone that's brand new to it doesn't really necessarily know them.
Right. I think so. One of my first, you mentioned flushing, and it gave me, I remembered this story. So one of my first nights, I was in Bridgeport County for like, I don't know, 2 or 3 months. And before I was transferred, and one of the first nights I needed to go to the bathroom, right? And I had this, it was my second cellmate. And I didn't know that you're supposed to like take the sheet and like tack it up, right? So I'm just like, I guess this is what we do. And the guy, when I was done, was like, "Man, you messed up." Just like, he was a very nice guy, and like we used to pray together and stuff. But like, yeah, I had no idea. I was like, those are small tips that I think are very important for anyone that's planning to go to prison, or just funny stories for guys like us that can like share that. People that have
it's great entertainment,
right? So big part of this podcast is to find people that are kind of disruptive, right? And you're sharing a very unique message that I wish a lot more people shared, and I obviously find funny. But what would you say is like your most disruptive quality in the way that you market this information?
I just think like I'm so very different, and I've always like embraced that, and I'm like, I'm not afraid to go outside like what the normal rule is. So like all my life it was like, okay, you had to go to college to be successful, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do something different. And then I started my business, and whether it was, you know, ended good or ended bad, it was still different and outside the norm. And I think now if you look at it, like a lot of people are like, oh, well, why don't you just drop the prison story and go get a job and do that? And it's like, well, you know, I did get a job and I did work at it, and I'm like, this is too normal for me. And there has to be a way that, like everything, I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason. So I didn't go through everything just to go work for someone else. Like I was always an entrepreneur. I didn't go through all that trauma just to, you know, roll over, play dead, and work a regular 9 to 5. So with that different, you know, disruptive thinking is, okay, how do I turn that experience into and monetize it and do something good with it? And that's when I got into social media and just telling the story. And you know, people that hate, they don't realize they kind of just drive engagement. Like people ask me all the time, does that ever bother you, like all the negative comments? And I'm like, it's great. Like I try to respond to the hate when possible, just to troll them a little bit back, because that just makes the videos go more viral. So people will spend all day on Facebook commenting like this. There's this one guy I've been seeing comments on every video saying, why are you doing this? Why are you saying this? And he's just boosting engagement. And now he's got like a top fan icon above him. Facebook does like this top fan thing. So, you know, it's stuff like that. Like social media for a lot of people is very different. They don't realize how much, you know, money you could potentially make from social media. So it's a lot different than what it used to be. And, you know, there's even influencers that talk about it now. I was reading an article, some models, they were like, they could post a photo 6 years ago that would get millions of likes or views or whatever, and it wouldn't make them any money. And now they can do that same thing and make crazy money from it.
Right.
So it's just a whole different realm now.
Right. So I started this business because same situation. Like when I got out, I was looking for a job, and I'm like, I don't want to work at the deli at BJ's, you know, like it nothing wrong with it. It's just not for me. And I started trying to reach out to recruiting agencies, and I wasn't able to get anything because they don't like to work with criminals or anyone with a record, right?
Yeah.
I formed this company as like kind of an umbrella agency so that they weren't hiring me, they were hiring the company. And that level of ingenuity is, I think, what made me a good entrepreneur, right? So it's very similar in the perspective, like when I got out, I didn't want to be, I didn't want to go back to just the norm, 9 to 5, sitting at my desk. I'm bored. I got to do all this stuff. And if I had to make the decision to transition back today, I would probably be ridiculously bored, right? Like I'm no social influencer, but I would be incredibly bored. My to-do list is the length of my arm. I have very long arms, and I just don't find it interesting, I guess, or working for anybody else. I'm not sure about you, but I don't really find listening to someone even something I want to engage with, you know.
Yeah.
But do you use any, on another note, do you use any type of technology? Obviously we use like social media and everything. This is kind of a dumb question, but it's one of like the standard questions that I ask everyone, right? So if you could select, I'm going to alter it. If you could select one piece of technology that you think is most beneficial to you, you know, which would it be, and how can someone in a fresh situation take this technology and harness it to build their own business?
I mean, I would definitely say it's just my iPhone. Like when I first started making content, I was so concerned with, okay, I needed to get a video camera, I needed to get professional shots, I need to do this and that. And, you know, I did that in the beginning, and those videos, some of them did go viral, and it worked out, but it's not really cost effective if I'm paying X amount of dollars to get X amount of videos made. And then I just started doing videos on my iPhone, and those were my most viral videos. Like I have a video with 11.4 million views and 1.3 million likes of me just sitting in my car on my iPhone, just recording with the TikTok app. And then I can recycle all the videos I make on TikTok onto my other platforms. So, you know, I think the iPhone and TikTok itself has definitely changed my life and opened new doors. And you could do everything from your phone. Like I do all my editing from my phone. Eventually I'm going to get like a MacBook or something and start really focusing on the editing. But like I just use editing apps. I do everything. Like it's sink or swim. If you don't really have the money to go out and pay professionals, like I built what I built now with just myself and a one-man team. Like I do the shipping for me from my phone for my merch. I do calls from my phone. I make videos from my phone. I control my website and edit my website from my phone. Like it's all based around my phone. So I think like that's been like huge for me. And it's just like, I had no idea how to edit videos or how to edit a website before I got into this. And I just learned, because if you don't learn, then you're paying someone hundreds and thousands of dollars.
Right. And what I found is that even, especially in today, most of this, almost everything can be done on your own if you're reasonably intelligent.
Yep.
Right. And I mentioned ingenuity, and you kind of just expressed that, but what would you say is your greatest liability? And then what would you say is your greatest asset?
Like in regards to myself or my business?
Either.
I mean, liability as a person, like sometimes I'll just like I'll take a lot on, and I'll spread myself thin, but also at the same time, it kind of counters with my asset to be able to multitask, and to be able to just like push through projects and not give up on something and just bang it out. And then a lot of times, like I'll commit to something, and then I'll just realize like I don't really want to do it. Like people will like hit me up all the time. They want to do calls. They want to do this. They want to do that. And then, you know, I try to respond to everyone. So I'm like up late at night, like responding these messages, and it just like kind of drains me mentally.
Right.
So I'm trying to learn kind of how to like pull back from that and just keep it like within certain hours. So because at the same time, I need to do that to build my business, but I also need to like take out that, like, you know, have a little personal balance too, because I'm just like on call 24/7, just always grinding it out.
Right. What made you want to get into the media scene? Like, as far as like, what gave you the idea to hit HBO? Like, did you reach out to them? Did they say like, hey, Ian, you know, we want to create this great documentary? By the way, I need you to send me that link because I've still not watched it, but my friends have told me about it, and I'm really interested in it.
Yeah, I'll text it to you. But basically, so when I got out of prison, I was just focused on the very first thing was I wanted to get into a nightclub again, and I wanted to write a book and sell my story rights. And when I realized very quickly within a couple of months that wasn't really going to be feasible, especially with having no money and just like the optics of it and the time it would take to do it. So I focused on building a career for myself at Whole Foods, and I worked my way up all the way up to a team leader. And while I was doing that and, supporting myself and building my credit and getting an apartment and getting a car and doing all that, that's when like things came together and HBO hit me up to do the documentary. They like slid in my DMs on Facebook, producer. And then that took, like a year to produce and come out. And then just like then things kind of died out. I thought that was going to be my big break, and things kind of fizzled out. Like I didn't really have the platform. And it didn't give me a platform, and I didn't have a platform. Like HBO Max was kind of new, and a lot of people weren't just downloading it. And I was also just one episode of a 10-part series. And I wasn't also putting in the work. Like I wasn't focused on my website. I wasn't on TikTok at the time. And also a part of that was like I was still on probation, so I wasn't really going out telling stories. And like behind the scenes, I still had a producer that was shopping around my story to other people, but just like a lot of no's and a lot of no's. And then this year, my friend finally pushed me and was like, hey, you need to get on TikTok. And in July, I started out doing videos Monday through Friday, just on TikTok, or I started on Instagram Monday through Friday, once a day. And Instagram was doing well, but then, it started to die out a little bit. And I moved to TikTok, and then TikTok started to go, and it was my 6th video. I was actually sick as shit in bed one day, and my friend was like, you still got to post. And I made the post, and it was my first viral video. And then since then, I upped the amount of videos I was making a day. I went to 4 times a day. I was posting on the weekends, and just continued to grow it. And then in August, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to quit the job and go full time on this.
Awesome. Do you have any cool stories from the nightclub scene that you think would be worth sharing? Or, I mean, here's the thing, right? Most of the guests that I have on are unconventional, but they have a focus on business. And you obviously, all other things aside, you're able to build what was a successful nightclub, right? And now you're building another successful company. So like, I always like to ask, like, if there was one story that you could bring to light for someone that was interested in even something like a nightclub, like what example could you use to help them build that business or do something similar to what you did?
I just think that it's just like you have to realize that a lot of it, like in these types of businesses, comes down to you, and you get what you put into it. I know that like in the beginning, what I learned the most was I started off as a promoter doing all the work and doing the promotion and going to other venues and handing out flyers and doing whatever it took to sell a show. And that's when I had my most success. And then the second I strayed away from that and got lazy and trusted other people to do that same results without me putting in the work is when things started to take a turn for the worst for me. And it wasn't until I got back to doing everything by myself was everything turning around again. But by that point, it was just too late. So like I would just give the best advice to like not get lazy, and you have to actually put in that work. And just because you have one in this type of business, just because you have one success doesn't mean it's going to stay that way and it's going to be a constant success. Like you compare that same. So what I do now is like I compare all my promotion tactics with shows, and I turn that into promoting myself and my brand. So it's still like that promoting drive, just on a different level. And social media is a lot different than what it was back then. Back then, you just used Facebook event pages. You used a couple sponsored ads, and that was it. But my following wasn't nearly as big as it is now. And so, like my best advice for people would just be to like, you got to keep at it, and you can't pull back from it at all. Like even you compare it to now, if I had one viral video, it doesn't mean all my videos are going to be viral. You have to keep shooting your shot out there, and some are going to hit and some are going to miss, and it's just a part of it. You can't let it deter you.
Relatable content, right?
Yeah.
What so I like to keep these interviews short-ish in respect for everyone's time. So before we start talking about plugging upcoming events, like what is in the works for you now? We mentioned the TV show, we mentioned the podcast. Is there anything else that's like going on? that you're really looking forward to? Any speaking engagements or something like that?
That's pretty much it. It's just the podcast and the TV show, and I know that's going to open up a lot of doors. Like I have a lot of ideas. I definitely want to get into like public speaking. A lot of people comment saying like I have the voice and the personality for it. And I think like by me doing the podcast and by that taking off, that's going to open up a ton of doors, which is why I'm like pushing the podcast. And we're just like putting so much effort into making this like a really professional show. Like I know a lot of people start podcasts, especially like surrounding prison and stuff, and it's just not like, one, they're not using video, or two, they're just not putting in like the effort or they know how to necessarily market it. And I feel like I have the marketing expertise, I have the personality, and then the team I'm partnered with has the production and the visual sense. So like we have the potential to like really, really blow this up. And like a lot of the big podcasts that are already out there are just now getting into video because the video podcast is like a fairly new concept.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a PR firm?
No, I don't have a PR firm.
You should get a TED Talk, TEDx.
A TEDx.
I don't even have much to share. People contact me, like these PR firms contact me all the time. Like, I'm gonna get you on the like for only $3,500. I can get you on the cover of Forbes. Like, no, you can't. No, you can't.
I mean, I have some people that do that. I'm going like I have a couple ideas with a PR firm. But other than that, like I do a lot of it myself, and I feel like once it gets to the point that I can't do it myself, then I'll be making enough money where I can afford a PR firm.
Right, right. All right, man. Well, this has been a great chat. Let everyone know where they can find you. I'm sure you're gonna get some new content coming up, so I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm sure everyone else is too.
If you just go to ianbick.com, it has everything on there. It has all my sites linked together up at the top. It's pretty easy to navigate, and it's an easy name to look up on the site.
Okay, perfect. Well, this has been great. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. We have to connect, get that lunch going. Your podcast episode or whichever episode I'm going to be on, doesn't matter, but I've got to get on there. And yeah, just all around good guy. Thank you. I appreciate you taking the time today, man. I really do.
Yeah, of course, man.
All right. Well, it's good talking to you. Hope you have a great day.
Here, you want to just set a date right now for the podcast and I can set it up?
Yes.